Hey guys, so I want to make a quick video to show you the Easy Educator remote that we use in training and just show you a little bit about how we use it, what the buttons all mean, how to charge it, all the good stuff that you need to know. So we have the remote. So on the remote, there is on the side an on-off button down here at the bottom. The button above that is program. We don't really use that remote. That changes what all these buttons mean on both the side and the front. So don't mess with that remote, but I'll briefly cover that button and show you what you do need to know about it. So below that P though is an on-off, and just like a cell phone, you're gonna push and hold until that display light's on. So you can see it said on, and now it has the number that the dial is set at. So that's the next part. So right here is the dial. Generally, you want to get used to holding the remote in your right hand so that you can have your middle finger and pointer finger on the two S buttons. See if you can read that. Do you see S? Yes. So put your middle finger on the bottom and your pointer finger on the top, and then you're going to get used to holding the remote so that your thumb is on the dial. And that way you can pull, let's see, there we go, pull down or push up to change the levels. Pull down to go down, push up to go up. So that's how we change the levels. Remember, the only levels we care about when working with your dog is too high, too low, and just right. So if you need to go down, pull down. If you need to go up, push up. So that's the dial. The bottom S button is constant. So you'll see it says 1D at the top, which means it's a one dog unit, and you see the C, and then you see a 0-7, which means we're on level 7. If I push that top button with my pointer finger, it's just a momentary. What momentary is like an eighth of a second. So constant is as long as you push that button, your dog's getting a constant little tingle or stim. If you do the momentary, even if you push and hold that button, it's just an eighth of a second. Super fast. That's all I get. Even if you push and hold it, the dog only gets an eighth of a second. So we're going to turn on the remote so you can actually see this lighting up when we do it. To turn on, did I say the remote? We're going to turn on the collar. This is the remote. We're going to turn on the collar by touching the two red magnets. We have the red magnet here on the remote and a red magnet here on the collar. And we're just going to touch them together kind of briefly so that it lights green. You don't want to push and hold or keep them together too long because it'll reprogram the collar to the remote, and there's a whole process to that. So just quickly to turn it off, and touch them again so you see that red light. I'm going to go ahead and turn them on again, and the most important thing when turning it on is that it blinks green, but wait for that second blink. That's the most important. That tells you the battery level. So if it blinks green the second time, it means your battery is fully charged. If it blinks amber, it means you can probably use it the rest of the day, but keep a close eye on it. And if it blinks red, then it's completely dead. It is not going to work. So just charge it right now. It's just not going to work. It does have a quick charge, so you can fully charge it in 2 hours. So if you wake up in the morning and it is dead, then let your dog out on a leash to go potty, leash them back through the house into their crate, and then leave them in their crate while this is charging in 2 hours. It charges in a complete charge in 2 hours. So it's only a couple hours, but I'd rather your dog be in his crate where he's not able to make bad choices and get away with them than to be out and accidentally get away with bad choices and think that they might be okay sometimes. So quick charge. I typically charge it at night, so if I see it blinking amber that night, I'll go ahead and charge them. And I will show you that in a second, but we're going to go through the buttons here. So remember that bottom S with my middle finger is our constant stem. So you can see that C will light up, and then it's constant stem. That top button, it's just an eighth of a second. So even though I'm still holding it up here, it's only an eighth of a second. We typically only use the bottom one. Every once in a while, we'll have a dog that works really well on momentary, but for most dogs, it's so fleeting, they don't feel it. So we like to do a constant so that it's more of a lingering lower level than a higher momentary level, because usually it has to be a little higher for them to feel that momentary stim. The buttons on the front, the top one here is vibrate. So you'll see that light up on the remote just to let you know that it'll light up on the e-collar to tell you the remote is communicating with it. And I don't know if you can hear it. I don't know where my speakers are on my laptop. but that's the vibrate. And then the other button is the red button, that's tone. Again, we don't really use this a whole lot. Some dogs, especially if they have an underground fence, already have negative feelings towards that tone, where the underground fence has that warning beep and then a high level stim or shock with the underground fence, because it's meant to save lives. It's not meant to be a communication device. It's meant to be like, don't ever choose this again. So that warning beep and then that high level correction from the underground fence is enough to just terrify dogs. Rightfully so. We don't want them to run into the street. Streets are very scary. But the tone on here can also be very startling to some dogs that have an underground fence. And for other dogs, this has no meaning. So we really don't use it a whole lot for dogs. But some dogs, that vibrate works really well as a correction. Other dogs, they sleep through it, and some dogs, they might be afraid of it. So we'll kind of talk you through it and find out if it works for your dog, doesn't work, or if it's too much. We definitely don't want it to be too much. We want it to be just right. So that's the vibrate. Again, the main button you need to worry about is this bottom one right here. That's that continuous stim. That's what we're going to use the most. On the other side here, that on-off button that we used before, if you just push it quickly like a cell phone, the cell phone power button, usually if you push and hold, it powers down the phone. If you just push it quickly, it turns on and off your display or your screen. So we're just going to push it quickly, and it actually will blink a bright LED light. If you push it again the second time, it's a constant LED light, and if you do it again, it turns it off. This is fantastic if you're going to go for a late night walk with your dog, or your dog's outside at night and you say, come inside, and there's a little bit of a delay. You can turn it on and see, is he still doing his business? Is he eating someone else's business? Or is he coming? He was just farther away than I thought. So we use this a lot at our house. We have 5 acres and lots of deer droppings and stuff that our dogs might like to linger at. So this lets us know if they're doing something wrong, if they're doing their business, or if they're coming, they were just farther away than we thought. So that's the light, super cool. How to charge it. I love, both of these are waterproof. You can go swimming with them, and this floats. So if it falls off the boat or, off the lanyard or whatever, it will float so you can find it bobbing on the surface. And this works in the water as well, but the water is a conductor, so it does boost the level to be a lot more intense. So if you're working, usually you want to work a quarter of the working level or baseline level your dog is at while you're in the water. So if your dog's baseline level, and we'll tell you as we start to train with you and your dog what your baseline is. Baseline means the lowest level your dog feels. Most humans don't feel this. I personally don't feel it until like an 11 or a 12. Most dogs we work this on probably feel it between a 4 and a 7. So it's much lower than what we humans feel, which I think is totally weird to encounter. Like, that's not what I would have thought at all. But that's how it is. That's what the dogs always show us. They feel it way before we do. So in the water, if your dog's baseline is a 4, you're actually going to work this on a level 1. If your dog's baseline is a level 8, you're actually going to work this on a level 2. Eric just came in to say hi, Eric.
Hello.
So quarter of the level in water. Baseline, if it's 8, you're going to go down to a 2 in the water. If you go, if your baseline's a 4, you're going to go down to a 1. So how do we charge it? We have a handy dandy charger. Boop, there we go. Did you guys ever watch Blue's Clues, or your kids? My niece and nephew did, and they'd always say, handy dandy something. Just a little fun fact for me. I watched Blue's Clues. All right, so how do we charge it? Since it is waterproof, it does have a waterproof plug. Maybe I need to watch more Blue's Clues to learn how to talk. It's a micro USB that you just plug in here. If you do want to do some reprogramming on the remote, that P button is one way to do it. Or your charger actually has a USB port that you can plug this directly into your computer and have a computer interface to show you how to assign all of these 4 buttons, the ones on the 2 S's and the 2 on the front, a purpose, stem, vibrate, tone, whatever you want it to be. So that's the remote, has that waterproof plug. Make sure when you're done charging it that you push this completely closed, because if it is ajar even slightly, you see that a little bit there, moisture will get in there and it will ruin the device, and the warranty does not cover that. They have a fantastic warranty, but be diligent so that you don't have to worry about that. For the collar, let me get this set up so you can see it. There we go. Okay. So for the collar, there's a little port on the top. We're just going to open this plug right here. And that is where we charge with it. I think it's called an auxiliary port. And so you can charge the collar at the same time as the remote. So super handy. Both of them do a quick charge in 2 hours. But I usually, like I said, at night, I check the collar. And if it needs to be charged, I charge it overnight. You can't overcharge it. It's a lithium-ion battery, which is the same battery used in most smartphones or cell phones today. So you can't overcharge it. You're not going to burn your battery. You don't have to train your battery. It just does a quick 2-hour charge. So that is how we charge it. The other things that come in here, one thing it comes with its own belt clip, but it's super skinny and like super hard to take on and off. We don't like it. It's not quick. We like quick. So we actually buy an extra belt clip to include with all of your guys' remote. So it has a little screw on the back. It comes out just like the old cell phone clips. You push and hold that top down, and this will slide right out. And then to clip it back in, you just put it on and pull down. You hear it click in. So it has a Phillips screw in there that you would just take to the back of your remote, obviously while it's out. Take this little piece out, screw it in, and then the remote can just clip on and off into your belt clip. So you can always keep it clipped to your left side. So while this clip is on your left side, you can actually have access to the remote with the, again, your middle finger on the bottom S, pointing your finger to the top S, and the thumb on the dial. Pulling down to turn down, pushing up to go up. And that can just be, I'm going to hold it. Obviously, you don't put a clip on your armpit, but that's where I'm going to hold it so you can see. So I can still push these buttons and dial up and down while this is all clipped to my hip. So the remote comes with it. You do have a lanyard. We didn't like using these. The remotes you just hang upside down, so you have to like pick it up and fumble with it and get it to be positioned the right way so your fingers are on the right buttons. And by that time, your dog's already done doing whatever he was doing that you wanted to correct him or communicate to him with. So we don't really recommend the lanyard. Or if you have kids, they like to play with it around your neck. So again, not fair to get your dog stemmed by a child just messing around. So belt clips usually are the best way to go. You have an extra set of probes. These are longer probes, so if your dog has a longer coat or thicker coat, we might have already put these on your dog or recommend you do. But to compare, can you see the difference? There, let me move my finger. So you can see it's a little bit taller than the probes that come on. These are short probes. These are long probes. And then we also have a little wrench that can unscrew these probes to change them in and out. And a tester. So this tester is super cool. You can put it on your remote. And as you push the button, if you want to say, is this really dialing up? Is it really getting stronger with stim because my dog's still being bad? You can see, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little tiny light. If you can see that. Try not to make it blurry. No, you can't really see it. Hey, Eric, will you come here real quick? Try to shadow this. Maybe put your hand over it, or just do this dial, and I'll put my hand over it. Start with a low number and then go high. Let's see if we can get them to see this. I don't see it. There we go. You can kind of see it when you're on high.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you kind of can see it. Obviously, you can see it much better in your home, so it's not so well lit as it is in here. But that's to let you know, so you don't have to test it on yourself. You don't have to start at a 1 and go all the way up to 100, because I have gotten up to like a 35 or a 40 on here, and it wasn't painful, but it was definitely uncomfortable. It made my muscles spasm, and I kept dropping it just because my muscles would spasm and open my hand. But mostly my working level, if you care to know, is about 11 or 12. That's where I can start to feel that little tingle. One little girl, she was probably about 8 or 9. Her parents said it was okay for her to try it, so we found her working level. And she felt it at like a 9 or a 10, but she said it felt like ants crawling on her skin. And I thought that's such a great analogy. That's exactly what it feels like. It's like a little tickle, like little tiny feet all over you. So it's not painful. Everything we use on dogs, we have tested and tried on ourselves because I want to know what it feels like. I want to know what I expect my dog to feel. And so I totally think this is wonderful. This is how we use it. I don't think I'm forgetting anything, but we covered all the bases. So bottom S is what you're going to use the most. Practice with the dial so that you are prepared when you need to dial up or dial down when training with your dog. Showed you how to charge them. Oh, I did mention that one last thing about the piece. Sometimes we'll have clients contacting us, families will be panicked because they say it's not working, it's locked on a number. What happens is, if you can see on that screen, it says 1D blinking. If you push and hold this program button, am I doing it right? Oh, because I'm on 0, goodness. Silly me, let me go up to like a 6, there we go. Now push and hold that program, and it will stop that 1D from blinking. Do you see it's not blinking anymore? Which means I can't change that level. It's always gonna be a 5. So if I push and hold that P button again, it'll start blinking, and now I can change the dial. So a lot of times you might accidentally think you're pushing one of these 2 buttons, but you actually are pushing this button. Happens to me more than I care to admit. That's how you fix it. Just go back to that P button and push it. So if you have any questions, obviously shoot us an email or write them down for your go-home orientation or a next appointment with you, and we'll be glad to go over it with you. But that's how we use the the Easy Educator, and how we will show you again when you come to get your dog. So I hope this video was helpful.